Hello and welcome to Sneaky Stories, home of short stories you can sneak into your day. Get ready to go on an adventure with some of the Sneaky Universe characters. Today we have a story from the Monicow series. My name is Pauline and I'm your storyteller, and I can't wait to share today's story with you. Remember, there aren't any pictures, so you'll need to imagine them. You can imagine the pictures any way you like. Rescue at the Museum. It was a sunny day. The sky was a bright shade of blue and the trees were swaying softly in the gentle breeze. Monicow, bovine superhero to the stars and anyone else needing rescue, was enjoying sitting on a park bench under the shade of a large blooming bottlebrush tree opposite the museum. Her supersensory ability meant that she could smell the pleasant aroma of cinnamon and vanilla from the local ice cream cone manufacturer a few streets away. She caught sight of a small branch above her head shifting slightly lower. Upon it was perched a bright yellow canary who promptly started singing. The sound of the canary reminded Monicow of the time she rescued some miners trapped underground when part of a mine wall collapsed. Monicow smiled as she reminisced about the miners she had rescued. It had been a tough mission, navigating through narrow tunnels filled with debris and ensuring everyone made it out safely. She had used her incredible strength to move heavy rocks and machinery and her keen sensory ability to detect any signs of life deep within the dark labyrinth. Finally, at the lowest level of the mine, Monicow found the trapped miners. After taking the time to check their vital signs and distributing the snacks and water sent with her from the surface, Monicow began the long trek back up to the top with 2 miners on her back at a time. That was all would fit through the narrow paths up to the surface. It was also much quicker than having the miners actually walking back up. Monicow received a standing ovation from the crowd who had gathered to watch the rescue when the last miner was brought back up to safety. She had been relieved when the rescue was complete. Although not afraid of the dark and danger, she, like most cows, most definitely preferred to spend her time above ground, in the sunshine. The shrieks of the children playing chase pulled her back into reality. Across the road she noticed a large moving van parked near the museum. The driver and passenger were standing behind the back door, waiting for someone. Eventually, a middle-aged man wearing a tweed jacket with patches on the elbows, round glasses perched on his nose, and a perfectly straight, colourful bow came out. His hair was a bit messy, like he had been busy admiring masterpieces all morning. Monicow spied the magnifying glass in his pocket, presumably so he could closely examine and authenticate the artwork coming into the museum. He was the head curator of the museum, Monicow deduced. After a brief discussion, the 2 men who had been waiting opened the back of the truck and slowly pulled out a large painting and carried it in. Monicow had chosen to sit at this park because it was close to the museum. She had heard whispers that King Maximus of Maxiland was up to his old tricks again and trying to acquire more pieces for his own personal art collection. Nothing seemed to be out of order for the moment, so Monicow continued enjoying her time at the park. She would be in the museum later tonight when the new art exhibit was officially opened. There would be many important guests at the soiree at the museum that evening, including the mayor and the artist. Meanwhile, at Maxiland, King Maximus was in his ballroom pointing at a large blank space on the wall. "Here," he declared to his audience of followers, "will be where the new life-size portrait will be hung. I am currently in negotiations with the artist. He is very famous. Actually, he has a new exhibition opening tonight. After that, he'll be coming straight here to work on my portrait." Several hours later, once the sounds of happy children playing were long gone and the enchanting smell of the ice cream cone factory had ceased to imbue the air with a pleasing aroma, Monicow decided to take a stroll around the park before making her way to the museum entrance. At the far end of the park, she noticed a gelato van. Thinking that it was odd, Monicow made a mental note of it. One could never be too careful. It may be that the owner lives nearby, or perhaps something more sinister. She made her way to the museum entrance. Several guests had arrived and were checked in by security. Inside, a few waiters were walking around with trays of drinks. Monicow picked up a glass to fit in. She didn't really want to stand out too much in the crowd, but she would not be drinking anything while on the job. She scanned the room, noting the guests. The mayor had arrived and was chatting to a wealthy-looking couple. There were a few other dignitaries, including the president of the museum and some local minor celebrities, the wood-carving champion, the award-winning pie maker from the town's bakery, and the chief librarian. Nothing looked out of the ordinary. A few minutes later, the guest of honour made their entrance. After a long and detailed biography of the artist and some welcoming remarks from the museum's head curator, the artist gave a quick thanks to the museum and the crowd. Everything was going well. There was no sign of King Maximus or his henchmen. The evening would officially be over in less than an hour. Monicow looked forward to getting home. "What is that noise?" thought Monicow, noticing a small argument at the door. The security guards seemed to be having a disagreement with someone there. The head curator was called to the door. The security guards wanted to check that the gelato vendor had actually been booked for the evening. It seemed all was well, and the vendor was allowed to enter with his mobile trolley freezer to rove among the guests, dishing out delicious dairy treats. Monicow approved. Ice cream was just one of the fabulous products produced with milk. When it seemed that everyone had been given an ice cream, the vendor made their way to the artist. Pretending to want to show the artist something inside his now empty freezer, somehow the vendor managed to push the artist in and started heading for the exit. Monicow, who had been in deep conversation about cream as a suitable topping with the award-winning pie maker, looked up. She noticed that the gelato vendor was struggling to push his freezer, which should have been empty. Excusing herself, she made a beeline to the door. "Pardon me, Mr. Gelato Man. Could I trouble you for another ice cream?" Monicow asked. "Oh no, sorry, I'm all out. But I can go and restock. My van is just outside," he replied. "Really? It does seem like you're having a little trouble pushing your trolley along. It looks heavy." "Oh no, not at all. Now I really must be going." "I don't think so, Maximus. I know it's you, and that you are trying to kidnap the artist, so save us both some trouble and yourself some embarrassment and just leave the trolley behind and go quietly." "How dare you? I am King Maximus, and you will address me with reverence, and I am leaving with my trolley," he replied indignantly before trying to leave quickly. Monicow was not one to be easily deterred. She stepped in front of the exit, blocking King Maximus's path. "Not so fast," she said firmly. "If you think you can just waltz out of here with an artist stuffed in a freezer, you're sorely mistaken." King Maximus glared at her, his eyes burning with fury. "Step aside, or face the consequences," he warned. Monicow stood her ground. "I think the only consequence here will be you getting caught." Just then, a few curious onlookers began to gather, sensing the tension in the room. Among them was the award-winning pie maker, who quickly assessed the situation and moved to support Monicow. "Is everything all right here?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. Seeing that he was outnumbered and losing control of the situation, King Maximus glanced around desperately. Suddenly, with a burst of strength fueled by panic, he attempted to shove Monicow out of the way and make a dash for the door with the freezer. But Monicow was ready. She grabbed the handle of the freezer with both hands and pulled back with all her might. With a mighty heave, she managed to stop King Maximus in his tracks. He stumbled backward, momentarily losing his grip on the freezer. Realizing he was defeated, King Maximus scowled and released the freezer. "You haven't seen the last of me," he spat, before turning and fleeing out the door like a toddler trying to avoid bath time. Monicow quickly opened the freezer and the artist emerged, shaken but unharmed. "Thank you," the artist gasped, looking gratefully at Monicow. "You saved me." Monicow smiled. "All in a day's work," she said, brushing off her hands. From the corner of her eye, Monicow watched King Maximus disappear into the distance. She knew this wouldn't be the last they'd see of him. If you would like a free Sneaky Universe colouring and activity book, visit www.sneakyuniverse.com/Sneaky Stories Podcast. Sneaky Stories is a Sneaky Universe production. Written, hosted and edited by Pauline Malcoon. The music is by Trailerworks. If you would like more stories, visit www.sneakyuniverse.com.